Hi everyone, Denise Nichols here with Motivate Therapy. Here to talk about a fun topic for the end of the month. Stress-free 2-week meal planning for happy, healthy family time. So let's talk about who I am real quick. Denise Nichols, occupational therapist, owner of Motivate Therapy. So Motivate Health Inc. is an outpatient OTPT pelvic health clinic that specializes in pelvic floor therapy and symptoms that affect pelvic floor issues as well as chronic illness and chronic pain. So symptoms like overactive bladder, urinary incontinence, prolapse, constipation, fecal incontinence, pelvic pain, abdominal pain, post-COVID symptoms such as chest pain, lymph types of issues, back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, and symptoms that affect daily life. I'm also the author of Your Self-Care Matrix. So overall, I truly believe that stress affects life, and anything that affects your quality of life, occupational therapy and physical therapy can really help. And truly the difference at Motivate, so the Motivate difference we call it, is we really believe that if you can just stop and step back and understand that Self-Care Solutions, not so just looking at exercise, but self-care is looking at presence, right? So being mindful of right now and how your choices and your self-care affects your health care, that you really should be a collaborator of your health care, which is really what your self-care is. So how your choices create your habits, right? So if you make a choice now and the same choice a moment from now and the same choice tomorrow and so on and so forth, that becomes your pattern, which becomes your habit. Right? And so that's truly what eating is, right? Your eating habits either support you or they don't, just like your moving habits support you now, right? So they may have supported you when you tripped and fell and hurt your ankle, or when you were 8 months pregnant, they supported you, but then you had your baby and your body thinks that maybe you're still pregnant, even though you don't have the pain anymore, but you're still walking that way. And then 20 years later, you come see us because you're still walking that way, even though, your body thinks that it still has to support you that way. But now you have back pain and things like that. So that's what we really want to help you understand, is to become aware of what habits are now supporting you and what habits are no longer supporting you. So that is what I'm going to start focusing on at the end of the month, is fun topics, not just necessarily the more hardcore topics like overactive bladder and post-COVID, but the more fun topics like your eating habits and how they may or may not be supporting you. So in occupational therapy, we really look at the integration of the mind and the body. So in my book, we talk about all the different bodies. So not just your physical body, but your mind, body, your mental, your emotional, physical, spiritual, mental and emotional, and social. So social and spiritual don't always necessarily, I think, get addressed nearly enough. I think mental, definitely over the past year and a half, we're all definitely feeling the effects, right, of COVID, and definitely social. We're feeling the mental effects of the lack of social interaction. And so I think food and social certainly go hand in hand. And so now that we've been not able to be in restaurants and things like that, and now we are. So my husband and I just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary, so we were able to actually go to a restaurant for the first time in forever. So that was really exciting. So I was raised on both sides of my family that sitting down for dinner especially is very, very valued tradition, and so we always sat down together. to eat, even though both of my parents were very career oriented and always worked, but we always sat down together. And my grandparents, we always sat down together. I went to college. I was very lucky to go to college near my aunt, and so that was very special that I got to have a home cooked meal. And it was great to always sit down, or the times I got to sit down with them. So I made sure that we sit down together, even now with my teens. So whether you have a big family or a small family, or even if it's just you, I think the meditative, mindful time to sit down and eat is so important. That is the connection of the mind, body, and spirit that you can do to sit down and eat. And I think that when you take the time to do that, that does help the nervous system, that parasympathetic time, that rest and digest time, to eat mindfully, to be present. If it's just you, if it's you and a partner or your family, that time to sit and gather, and not be busy, like watching TV or being distracted, I guess I should say. And then not have it something to dread, like, oh, I don't know what to make, and just something you just throw together, but something that you plan ahead of time, I think is so important. So I'm hoping to give you some easy, free ideas. This is just something that I wanted to plant a seed in your brain and let you know that this is how I've been doing it for 20 years, and I don't even know how I ended up coming up with this idea before I think even Food Network was a thing, but this is how I do it. So I'm hoping this helps you. And we've been talking for the past month about chronic illness, so post-COVID syndrome, but any autoimmune issue, anybody, if anybody's ever heard of the spoon theory, I think lupus, someone with lupus is who came up with this, but basically anybody with chronic illness, when they first wake up, this is from a personal experience, when you wake up in the morning, you really don't have any idea what amount of energy you're going to have. And so this woman would use this spoon theory to describe what it's like to have a chronic illness. So when you wake up, you basically have so many spoons. So she was sitting in a diner with her friend and said, so she had these spoons, and she gave her friend these spoons and said, these are how many spoons you have in a day when you wake up. And, so what do you first do? And then basically she took a spoon for every activity. Showering, take a spoon. And so by the end of the day, she had one spoon left to decide if she's going to make dinner or if she's going to drive to go get something, and then had no spoons left to do anything else. And that can be the story of anybody who's dealing with a chronic illness. And so that's where, if you can sit down on a Saturday morning, go through magazines or something, and plan out your grocery shopping accordingly, and then you have a menu and you have an idea of what you're going to do before you go throughout your day, you can really save a lot of energy and time. So that's what I'm suggesting. And also it does guarantee some family time that is harder and harder to come by the older your children get. And also, if you have very busy children that are doing a lot of things, it also helps guarantee that they're getting some nutrition, hopefully, in there as well. So, taking a drink. Okay. And then also, we were talking about overactive bladder and interstitial cystitis and things that you may have to start watching what you intake as well. So, bladder irritants, we have talked about a little bit. And like I said, you're going to be on the lookout for handouts that are coming out and programs that are coming out to help with nervous system quieting and a list of bladder irritants and things like that. But for some people, things like, vinegars and citrusy things, tomato-based things, can be an irritant. And so Sometimes just drinking more water and flushing things out is okay, but if you are planning ahead of time and watching, if you are being more high-end on a lot of tomato-based things and things like that, then if you're watching kind of food tracking that you're eating a lot of those things, then it's going to help you control that, and therefore go, being more aware is going to help you control your symptoms. So that's awesome as well. And then that's going to help you communicate with your medical team, and therefore say, I've decreased on those and now my symptoms are better. Yay, now I don't need these medications. Let's decrease the medications and see how I do. Or I decrease those things, my symptoms are the same, and then that's going to help them treat you as well. So win-win situation, right? Okay, no reason not to try this. So, except for budget issues, but we'll talk about that as well. So let's get to this. So this is what I really like to do. Magazines are my favorite. So, and we'll talk about why. Let's see, do I have a cooking light? Yeah, so there's Food Network. I like magazines. So Food Network, and then there's Eating Well, and then, do I have a cooking light? Nope, no cooking light. And then there's Cooking Light. I think Cooking Light is here. Yep, and then Cooking Light. So Cooking Light and then Eating Well. I think Cooking Light stopped at one point, but basically that's what I get. I get Cooking Light and Food Network and Eating Well every month. And so based on which I get, I just go through those and then I make lists. My grocery list based on that. So I write a menu, and I don't write very well. I write chicken scratch because I write all day as a medical practitioner, so I write fast. So what I do is I go through and I pick the recipes, right? So I pick the recipes, and I write a menu for my husband who works from home, but he works a full-time job. So I write a menu, and then I pin it on the refrigerator, or I leave it in the, sometimes I'll just leave it in the magazine, and then he pulls it. And what I try to do is I'll leave the protein obvious, so CK's chicken, right? Or, beef or shrimp or whatever. And then he knows to go pull that protein, or him or I will go pull the protein that morning. So we know what to thaw that day. And then he's trained because we've been doing this since the beginning of our relationship, really. And then we're spoiled because we just alternate proteins. So we never really have the same protein in a row. And that's what's nice about this, is that we really never really have the same thing twice. And maybe that's a negative too, because we rotate so much. But that's what's fun too. So that's what I do. I will write the list of, and I will try to pick 12 to 14 things. So that will include weekends. And then I will write the grocery list. And this is what I recommend if you're just going to get started and you don't really know, the area or the grocery stores, is, pick a couple grocery stores, shop, and then pick which has the best prices for the main ingredients that you love. And then try to stick with at least, the same grocery store, or, the top 2 grocery stores, so that you're not, I think we tend to buy a lot more, and then we blow our budget when we are shopping at multiple places, because we impulse buy more when we are going to multiple places. And so what I do is, because I said I pick 12 to 14, I grocery shop every 2 weeks. And I really feel like I save a lot of money doing it that way, because I know when I was going every week, I was impulse buying more, so I was spending a lot more money. And when I am buying per menu, I am not impulse buying as much. And so, of course, I am buying snacks based on what I do always say. I'm going to the grocery store. What snacks do you want? So their snacks tend to stay the same. And of course, the budget went up since they've been home. But I've been able to control what they're eating more, which has been nice. And then also what's really nice with cooking light and eat well, it's really nice because their whole point is to decrease the calories. So if you saw it doesn't look all that healthy, right? Pizza, chicken fingers, burgers and shallots, sweet and sour chicken, but the name of this was Recipe Makeovers, right? There's a, what is it? Yeah, cheesecakes on the front. But like this Southwest crispy chicken sliders, the slider is made out of a muffin. So I think it was a cornbread muffin. And so, the sliders were this big. So portion-wise, that was good. And so that was a really good thing. So they were sliders, and so then we did guacamole, and so for Saturdays or Sundays, it's fun. We always sometimes try to do like a game night, and so we do little appetizers. So that's what's fun about doing on weekends, and also so on weekends, what's fun to do is for whether you are a family of 4 or more or a couple of 2 or less, what I like to do, so yesterday I like to buy, chicken in bulk, so I bought a 8-piece. So if you're 2 or less, you can buy a 4-piece. And then I split it up, so I baked 4 pieces of chicken. I roasted at 425 for 25 minutes or more, and then I took the other 4 and I butterflied them and pounded them into cutlets, and then made this chicken piccata. And again, this is eat well, and so all it was is 2 tablespoons, I think, of butter, or a tablespoon of butter. So it was this really thick, rich-looking sauce, but it was very healthy. And it called for chicken broth and wine, but I don't drink wine, so I just use a little apple juice. That's my cheat for whenever they call for wine, is I use apple juice or apple cider with chicken broth. And so now I have roasted chicken for their little mini cheat chicken pot pies, with like puff pastry, which always looks like super fancy, but it's a nice, easy thing for when I work a full day, like a 9-hour day this week. So that's super easy, and that's using like frozen vegetables, and that's a super easy thing that you can do if you're a single or a couple. Now you have roasted chicken that you can do later in the week when you have a busy day. So awesome, super easy cheat. And that's the great thing about magazines. So that's this week is so things like that. So this menu, the pizza was that's frozen pizza dough. That's a nice, easy thing to always have in your refrigerator, and they have nice gluten-free ones. And that's the easy thing too about this, is pretty much everything I can do gluten-free. With my diet, it goes up and down, so you can do a lot of this stuff gluten-free. I find that almond flour or rice flour or the gluten-free flours, I always have those in my pantry. Mac and cheese, the mac and cheese in here uses butternut squash too, so a lot of these have very easy ways to make it healthy. So that's a nice thing about Cooking Light and the Eat Well. And then Food Network is really nice because they do have healthy versions, but they also have things that are fun and makes my family feel like they're getting the best of both worlds too. So I don't have fights all the time. But they're used to they've grown up eating this way as well. And the other great thing about the magazines versus cookbooks is that pretty much they're writing for the masses. They're writing for real life anymore. So pretty much every one of these are weeknight meals. So 20 to 30 minute preps for the most part. If they're not, then I will either turn them into slow cooker meals or I will make them weeknight meals for the most part. So let's see. Yeah, and so you can pretty much turn them into 1 to 2 person meals as well. And also they have, they pretty much always have appetizers and they pretty much always have sides too. So if you're only a 1 to 2 person family and you don't have 4+ person family, if you're not a 4+, you're not cooking for a lot of people. Because I know that was tough when I was just a single person. Grocery shopping and cooking was hard. But you really can turn these into appetizers, and they always have appetizers and side options. So that's really good. The only downsides, I was trying to come up with downsides to these is, like I said, very often if you're just going through the different magazines, it can be hard to find the same recipe. So if you don't like not having the same thing twice, that could be a problem, I guess. And sometimes they have unusual ingredients, so you might go and get something and then it might stay in your pantry for a while. And then sometimes, if you have really picky eaters, but I think it can be good to just have them try something new. They may be surprised. And that's always what we ask, is just try it once. Just try it once. If you don't like it, then maybe we can circle back another time. My kids were always surprised. They always did surprise themselves. So I think that's good for that. And what's fun is very often they will do foods from different cultures, and so you are helping to diversify and introduce them to different cultures, and I think that's so important in today's society, right now, right? Super important. Okay. So one question I get asked a lot is, well, what do we do for, how do you keep your produce fresh, right, in a 2-week period? So obviously, one of the best ways to do it is to use the fresh produce first. So if you're buying, if your kale is open, your open stuff, you're going to eat that first, versus if you have things that are in boxes. So I will buy both open kale and I will buy the box stuff. The box stuff is awesome because it does last the longest. So I will use the open stuff for like my smoothies and things like that, and my salads. And then I like to buy the box stuff because that will last me the second week. The bags, they will spoil the first. So if you buy the bag spinach and things like that, definitely use that first. And then obviously the frozen stuff will be your week 2 or later, right? And then always, that's the other thing too for the unusual ingredients. Review your list, see what's left. I wrote the dark list so that you could read it. Review, see what's left. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. Obviously, if we're working late and I'm exhausted, or my husband is exhausted, that's the thing too, is this has to be a team effort, right? If there's times where I'm exhausted or, my spoons are used up by noon, and, the person that has the chronic illness obviously has to have a supportive spouse. And so there are, this day you have, or these 3 days you have dinner. So and before I even got the illness, I was working 10-hour days. And so I would make the menu. I would do the grocery shop. I would make the menu, and then he would do the cooking. And then I would work the 10-hour days, and I would come home and so he would have the menu. That's the hardest part, is deciding what to make, right? So he would get up, he would pick it out, he would pull out the protein, and then I would come home and I would have dinner and the family waiting for me, and it was awesome. And then we would all get together. And so now with the teens and the husband, now I'm cooking and the teens and the husband are trained to clean. So that's awesome. And that's how, and then hopefully I've created the tradition for them. And then hopefully I'm passing this on to you, because I really, truly believe that traditions can start anytime. And traditions are meant to give you something to look forward to. And I think that if you can have fresh produce and wonderful things in the refrigerator waiting for you, and you can see them as something to nourish you, and and people that you love and you had a part in creating, and then you create wonderful memories and have wonderful food to help support you and nurture you, and you create loving, happy times together, then that's going to do something to lift you up and heal you and help you move forward in life and create a quality of life. That's going to do wonderful things for you and not stress you out and not bring you down. Then that's going to help move you forward, whether you're doing awesome right now in life and not needing, medical attention and therapy and all of that. That's great. That's really what we want. We're here to help prevent. Truly, we'd rather, either keep you where you are and move you forward, keep you away from therapy, or help you wherever you are in whatever age and stage you're at. And that's really what food is about, is to help support you. But if you're at a point where you need to evaluate how stress is affecting your muscles, because truly muscles need fluid to be happy and healthy. Blood flow, muscles need blood flow. Blood flow in, lymph flow out. They need fluid to come in and out. And when we have stress, muscles do this. If you want to learn what anxiety does to your pelvic floor, then check out our YouTube channel. Check out the discussion on our website under our blogs. Check that out. But it does this. And so drinking water and listening to our or doing our meditation, pelvic floor muscle relaxation. We've got more coming your way for helping you find your center, right? Relaxation. We did tapping for our upper core. But food and trying to do something like this, a 2-week stress-free meal planning. Let's see what happens if you just sit down this Saturday, plan 2 weeks, maybe find one magazine. That's the trick, right? It's the only reason you would need to, is if you can find a magazine where you're like, whoa, there's a ton of great things in here that I would eat. And that's the only reason you would need to, is if, I don't eat a ton of pork. So if there's a ton of pork recipes, then I might go, okay, yeah, I would need another magazine. But if there's a ton of chicken and shrimp and fish and beef, for the most part we do, chicken and fish and shrimp, and then maybe, a steak or ground beef. So then usually it's just one, and, if I can find at least 12. And then, if we have a night where we're just exhausted, then we would possibly order out. There's just no shame in doing that. And then it's about, creating traditions and making it a partner deal between you and whoever else is sharing space with you. So that you're all sharing and communicating. That is how we share this life together. If you take it all on and you don't communicate, that is when your body is going to suffer for it, right? Mind, body, and spirit. Communicating within, communicating without. That is how we share energy rather than have it sucked all in here. Planning, preparing, loving, living, and learning. And that's what we're doing, right? That's what I'm doing, is I'm sharing with you. I would love for you to share with me your tips and tricks. And also share with me if you found this helpful, if you want to learn more about how food can help you, and if you find this helpful, if you want to learn more about I guess, you know, if you want to learn more about food and food preparing, recipe sharing, that kind of thing. I love this kind of stuff. I love cooking. So, you know, I wanted to share a couple more tricks with you. Herbs is a really great way to, you don't need a ton of ingredients, I find. You know, I think like I love the one sheet, one pan, one pot types of recipes so that you're not having to do a lot of cleanup. I love fresh herbs. I have rosemary and basil now that I have some good windows, but I will do, you know, the plastic things if I have to, you know, things like raw honey. I love mason jars, and I love, you know, cooking one pot, like a slow cooker. I'm not a big fan of slow cookers except for soups and, you know, like your shredded, like your barbecue sandwiches and things like that. Those are nice and easy. And everything and anything that I can do to make leftovers for lunches, especially for, you know, if you have kids that are busy doing things, any kind of containers, thermoses that you can share the nutrition the next day for them as well. Okay, so if you like this video, please share it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more. Look ahead for the overactive bladder stuff that's coming ahead. Classes, interviews, doctor interviews coming up. And then next month is March. Yay, spring is coming. And it also means Endometriosis Awareness Month. So I have a couple doctor interviews coming up to learn more about endometriosis, as well as chronic pelvic pain, because unfortunately those two can be associated. Let's see, I'm starting to do some more fun book stuff, your Self-Care Matrix. Let's see, what else? Yeah, free resources are coming up, and then I'm going to start doing more about classes, and like I said, finding your center, more meditation and fun things with tapping. So any questions, any other resources and needs that you find that we can help fill, we're here for you. Have a wonderful, motivated Monday and a wonderful, motivated week. Take care.